Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books. Let's get started.
It is great to be back, and today we're tackling a story that, honestly, it just challenges the limits of truth is stranger than fiction.
Oh, completely. If you saw this plot in a movie, you'd say it was way too over the top.
You would. You'd roll your eyes.
We're digging into Family of Spies by Christine Kuehn. And just to set the stage, imagine growing up in, the most normal suburban
The
setting.
American dream, basically.
Exactly. And you have this dad, this lovable, eccentric giant of a man, 6'3", funny accent, and he's always telling these wild, tall tales.
He's a classic big fish father figure, the guy
Yeah.
who's just larger than life.
Right. And you're just like, oh, that's just dad. But then decades later, you get this one piece of information that makes you realize those stories weren't just stories. They were a smokescreen.
A smokescreen for something unbelievable.
Because it turns out your goofy dad's parents, your grandparents, were the masterminds of the spy ring that helped plan the attack on Pearl Harbor.
It's a staggering premise. And what Christine Kuehn does in the book, it's so brave. She's not just telling history. She's dismantling her entire family mythology.
Okay, so let's start where she starts, with the dad, Eberhard. Because his whole persona is key to this. She describes him as having this Sergeant Schultz thing going on.
Right, from Hogan's Heroes, for anyone who remembers, the big sort of bumbling German guard who's always saying, I know nothing.
Which is deeply ironic.
Oh, the irony is thick. It's a character designed to be harmless, to disarm you.
And his stories were just like that. He'd tell his kids he wrestled alligators in Florida, that he was always saving toddlers from running onto highways.
And you can see the psychology there, can't you? In all his stories, he's the hero, the protector. He's in control.
Which is the exact opposite of his actual childhood.
Precisely. He was essentially rewriting his own history in real time just to cope.
But there was one story Christine just never bought. Eberhard swore up and down that as a kid he used to play with Shirley Temple.
And you can't blame her. It sounds ridiculous. Oh, sure, Dad, you and the biggest movie star on the planet were pals.
But that one turned out to be true. And that's the first breadcrumb, really.
It is, and it's such a crucial detail because it tells you they weren't just, scraping by as immigrants. To be in the same room as Shirley Temple, you have to be moving in some very high circles.
You have to be at the parties, rubbing elbows with the elite. But Christine, she doesn't know any of this yet. Not until 1994.
Ah, the year the bubble bursts. She's just living her life, working at a radio station, and this letter shows up.
From a screenwriter.
A screenwriter, of all people. And he's basically asking, hey, are you related to the Otto Kuehn, who was involved with the Nazis in Pearl Harbor?
And her first reaction is so normal. It's just, no way. Wrong guy. It's a common name.
Pure denial. A total defense mechanism. But her husband, Mark, he's the one who says, wait a minute, your dad is German. He grew up in Hawaii. Maybe we should, check this out.
So they go to a Borders books. Remember Borders?
I do. The late night research hub.
They walk over to the history section and they pull this huge book, At Dawn We Slept, off the shelf.
And this is the moment, the exact moment her life's genre shifts from family dramedy to, a full-on spy thriller.
Can you imagine? You flip to the index, your heart is probably pounding, and then you see it. Kuehn, Bernard Julius Otto, her grandfather's full name.
And he's not just mentioned in passing. He's listed as a key Nazi spy.
In that instant, her sweet Aunt Ruth, her mysterious grandfather, they're not boring relatives anymore. They're international espionage agents.
And suddenly her father's whole life, all the weirdness and the trauma, it all just clicks into this terrifying new focus.
So we have to go back. How does a German family end up in Hawaii in 1935, spying for Japan?
Well, it starts in 1930s Germany. Otto Kuehn, the grandfather, he wasn't just some random guy. He was a World War I veteran. And like a lot of German men at the time, he felt this deep, burning sense of humiliation about the defeat.
So he's looking for a way to get power back.
He's looking for power, for wealth, for status, and he happens to meet Reinhard Heydrich on a train.
Heydrich, that's not a name you want to hear. He was one of the worst, an architect of the Holocaust.
Meeting him is like making a deal with the devil. And Otto and his wife Friedel, they make that deal. The Nazi party offers them a path, and they take it.
And their mission is to go to Hawaii as sleepers.
Right. They move the whole family to Honolulu. But they need a cover. You can't just show up and start spying.
So what was the cover?
They posed as wealthy retirees or researchers. And this is where it gets so audacious. They have no visible income, none. But they're renting these huge beach houses, they have servants, they're throwing lavish parties.
Just acting the part, the ultimate fake it till you make it.
And it worked. They bought their way into the high society crowd. They'd have U.S. naval officers over for dinner, pour them drinks, and just listen.
So that's how the Shirley Temple thing happened. They were at the right parties.
They were in the inner circle.
Oh, yeah.
But it was more than just listening. They turned their own home into a literal spy station. Otto built this special dormer window.
The window. I wanted to ask about that. It wasn't just for the view, was it?
No, it was tactical. It had a direct line of sight to the ocean, and he used a system of lights like flashes from a lamp to communicate directly with Japanese submarines off the coast.
No way.
Yes, signaling the movements of the U.S. fleet. It's wild.
And it really was a family of spies. Everyone had a role.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Friedel, the mom. Her cover was diabolically brilliant. She opened a beauty shop.
A beauty shop. Sounds so innocent.
But think about it. Where do people let their guard down and just talk?
The hairdresser's chair? You're just chatting, complaining about your husband's work schedule?
And who are her clients? Navy wives. So she's setting their hair while they're saying, oh, Bill's so stressed. The USS Enterprise is shipping out on Tuesday. It's chilling.
She's sweeping up hair and intelligence that's going to get their husbands killed.
Cold-blooded. But if you think that's dark, we have to talk about Aunt Ruth.
Christine just knew her as this sweet old lady.
But back in the 30s and 40s, she was literally featured in a book called The World's 30 Greatest Women Spies.
That is quite the resume.
Ruth was the honeypot, the Mata Hari of the operation. She was young, she was beautiful, and she dated U.S. naval officers, specifically to get information out of them.
And the book mentions her past in Germany, which it kind of explains how she got so good at this.
It does. It's a polite way of putting it. Before they even left for Hawaii when she was just a teenager, Ruth had an affair with Joseph Goebbels.
Hitler's propaganda minister.
You guys
As a teenager, that's not an affair. That's coercion.
Absolutely. She was used as a pawn by your own parents. But the most horrifying use of a child, the thing that makes Otto and Friedel just irredeemable, is what they did with their youngest son, Hans.
This part just made me sick. Hans is 10 years old.
The child spy. Otto and Friedel dressed him up in a perfect little white sailor suit.
He looked adorable, I'm sure.
That was the point. They'd send him down to the Pearl Harbor docks, and the sailors would see this cute little kid in the uniform, and they'd let their guard down. Hey, kid, want a tour?
Exactly. They'd invite him onto the ships, show him the gun batteries, the engine rooms. And he wasn't just looking. He was trained to memorize everything. He was a human tape recorder.
A 10-year-old. It's just ruthless. So where is Eberhard Christine's dad in all this?
That's the tragic irony. He was the spare. He wasn't useful like Ruth or the favorite like Hans. So they mostly kept him in the dark. He was literally out back feeding the chickens while his family was plotting against the United States.
Which probably saved him in the long run, but destroyed any trust he had.
It created a wound that never, ever healed.
So we know where this is heading. December 7th, 1941, the attack happens.
And the reality comes crashing down. The Kuehns watch the smoke rise from their home. They know exactly what they helped bring about.
And the FBI shows up pretty quick, right?
Oh, yeah. They'd been suspicious for a while. Once the bombs fell, the gloves were off. They raided the house.
And they found the smoking gun.
More like a smoking suitcase. $14,000 in cash.
Which, in 1941, is...
What?
a fortune. Hundreds of thousands today. It was huge. And they trace it directly to the Japanese consul. That was the proof. They weren't just sympathizers. They were paid agents.
So Otto and Friedel get arrested, and there's this incredible scene where the FBI bugs their jail cell.
This moment tells you everything about their mindset. They put them in adjoining cells and just listen. And Friedel just loses it on him.
She yells Menschenkind at him, which is like, man alive.
She screams at him. She says, you have made yourself unhappy and me unhappy and the children unhappy.
But she's not angry about the betrayal or the dead sailor.
Not at all. She is furious that Otto signed a confession. She's mad about his incompetence, not his immorality. Zero remorse for what they actually did.
And then comes the trial. This is maybe the most heartbreaking part of the whole book.
It's a total tragedy. It's a military tribunal, and the prosecution needs witnesses. So they call the children to the stand.
Eberhard, who's 14, and Hans, who's only 10.
Could you just imagine that? You're 10 years old. You're sitting on a witness stand, and you have to testify against your own father, knowing your words could get him executed.
And Hans didn't even really get it, did he? He thought he was just helping his parents.
Exactly. He was just a kid doing what he was told. But the testimony was damning.
So what was the verdict?
For Otto, the sentence was death by musketry.
By firing squad.
It was
Wow.
later commuted to 50 years of hard labor. He ended up in Alcatraz. Friedel was interned.
And the family is just obliterated.
Completely shattered. The parents are gone. The kids are left on their own.
And this is what pushes Eberhard to join the U.S. Army, right, to prove his loyalty?
It's his path to redemption. He ends up fighting in the Pacific against the very regime his father supported. He's trying to wash the stain of his family name away with his own blood and service.
It makes all those hero stories he told later make so much more sense.
He was trying to build a new identity from the ground up.
There's that scene in the prologue, 1964, Ruth and Hans are back in Germany.
Yes, the two former spies.
And they take 5 doxes of family records, letters, photos, everything out into a field in Bavaria.
And they burn it all. A massive bonfire of their own history.
Trying to erase it.
They thought burning the paper would free them from the past. But as Christine discovered, you can burn the evidence, but you can't burn the truth. It lingers.
Which brings us back to Christine in the 90s. She finally starts getting some of this out of her dad, who has dementia by then.
But even then, he tries to protect her. It was a long time ago, he just keeps saying.
But she doesn't let it go, and she starts using, of all things, Facebook, to find her long-lost cousins in Germany.
And she finds them, people she never even knew existed because the family secret had enforced this total silence for 50 years.
So she travels to Germany, she meets them, and that really feels like the true climax of the book. It's not about the spies anymore, it's about healing the family.
There's this line in the book that's so powerful. Christine says she realized that secrets eat love like acid.
Eat love like acid. That's heavy.
But it's true, isn't it? The secrecy didn't protect them. It just corroded everything. And breaking that silence was the only way to stop the acid from eating the next generation.
So by digging up this horrible truth, she actually gets to understand her real father. Not the caricature, but the traumatized boy underneath.
And that's the resolution. The family was, as she says, broken by history. But the new generation, Christine and her German cousins, they fixed it. They sat down with coffee and cake and just talked.
It's an amazing arc. A story that starts with Nazi spies, ends with cousins having coffee, finally at peace.
It just shows you that we aren't our parents. We inherit their history, but we don't have to inherit their sins.
Right.
Or their silence.
So if you're listening to this, what's the big takeaway? Most of us, hopefully, don't have Nazi spies in the family tree.
Hopefully not. But every family has its myths.
Yeah.
Every family has things that, we just don't talk about.
The skeletons in the closet.
Exactly. And this book really asks, is it better to hide the ugly parts of the past? Or does that just pass the trauma down in a different, more toxic form?
It's a heavy story, but what a deep dive. From the secret window signals to burning records in a field, this book definitely sticks with you.
It absolutely does. It's a powerful reminder that history isn't just something in books. It's the choices people make and the ripples that last for generations.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. We all have those funny family stories, right? Grandpa's tall tales. But how well do you really know where those stories come from? What if that funny anecdote is actually the cover for something much, much bigger? Maybe it's time to ask a few more questions.
Just be prepared for the answers you might get.
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe for more bookish adventures and hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, spread the word.